trainer, educator, and cancer survivor. He is the former vice president of International Business College and the former executive director of the El Paso Child Guidance Mental Health Treatment Center. In 2014, Michael, he moved to Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex to serve in the role as the executive director of Earnings by Learnings of Dallas, which was the fourth educational program in the country with proven academic gain, according to Harvard. Currently, on most days, he serves as an associate academic principal for a high school in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. In 2004, he published his first book, Help, My Boss is an Idiot. Idiot is an acronym for an individual who doesn't inspire others' talents. He has two comedy albums, and he is the managing owner of My Buy Real Estate Group. He has been married to his wife, Brandy, for over 21 years, and they have three beautiful, sassy, bold, courageous teenage daughters. Boy, he's got a handful right there. Will you please help me welcome Michael Urie to the floor? Michael, the floor is yours.
Woo! Thank you, Arnita. I'm very happy to be here this evening. I need to update that resume or that bio intro. Brandy and I celebrated 22 years of marriage in July, so I need to step my game up. And
Congratulations!
Thank you. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about the feedback that I gotten before. This will be my third session. It's an honor to serve alongside and partner with the Houston Equity Fund, and appreciate all the work that Dr. Gina Jerkins is doing and the team out there. And so one of the things that was said was, when I got feedback before, like I said, this is my third session, is that three things that I remember was, one, the feedback was people liked my stories when I shared personal anecdotes of things that had happened. And two was giving people an opportunity to provide feedback and to interact. So it wasn't the sage from the stage, me talking as much as maybe facilitating and getting people to have some conversations and getting your input. So I definitely want to do that tonight. And I'll let you know that normally when I present from my wife's office. She's a medical doctor, and we own the building, so I have a real estate arm of our company. And when she came home tonight, she said, "Babe, one of the patients, this older gentleman," he said, and she's in there cooking right now, or they're about to eat dinner. Normally I'm there, I'm at home tonight. And 10 minutes ago, she walks in and says, "Babe, one of the patients said, 'Young lady, you look good.' I went home and I told my wife, 'You look really good. I don't know what your husband is doing. Whatever he's doing, tell him to keep up the good work, because girl, you look good.'" So let's go ahead and start with the feedback session. You guys tell me either verbally or in the chat, was he complimenting her or was he complimenting me? Exactly. So the man said her. Who? Anybody else?
Somebody said both.
Both. Okay.
They said both in the chat.
Yeah, I don't think he was complimenting me at all, but it's all good. It's all good. So I have to tell you, I want to be vulnerable with you tonight. Although I've been an executive director of a nonprofit, when I saw this opportunity to share, this wasn't one that I felt super confident about. And I'm going to share some of that vulnerability with you and how I managed the organizations that I was in, despite my feeling inadequate. And one of the guys that I worked with recently, I was talking to him about something, and he used the term imposter syndrome. So I'm not really sure what that means, and I'm not sure if that's really what I'm, where I'm falling. But I do want to share tonight and and hopefully it'll be helpful. And so through my story or stories of the things that I've done, hopefully you can pick up a nugget or two, or maybe some French fries and whatever, and it'll help you. And so, as Miss Arnita said, you heard some of my background there, and but what I want to hone in on tonight, which will hopefully translate to some of you, is the nonprofit experience. And so whether it was the director of communications at Destiny Church for what felt like a very long time, I'd been serving there since '92 when I was in high school, or executive director of the El Paso Child Guidance Center, or Earning by Learning of Dallas, or whether it's being a comedian or an author, because I certainly haven't made a whole lot of money doing that. So we can consider those nonprofits as well. I want to share some of that. And so with the feedback that I was given last time about sharing, I want you to type in the chat whenever you have something. And I'm going to go through 4 different sections for tonight. It's going to be pretty relaxed. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to share out after each section, like formally. But if you want to type in the chat at any time, and Ms. Arnita, I can't see the chat. So if any time you want to stop me and have me address something, feel free. We're going to be real relaxed.
Okay.
All right? Okay. So, well, let me go back for a second. So when I was preparing for this a month or so ago, and I started thinking about one of the things that we do at work currently, and something that I did a lot in my master's program, is a root cause analysis. And in a root cause analysis, you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, because oftentimes we get so busy in our work that we lose sight of the why behind we got into the work in the first place, or what does success look like. And this summer, I read a book that I thought was amazing, and I'm going to share with you nuggets from that book throughout this session. And one of the things that really stood out to me was this quote right here: "Fish discover water last." Fish discover water last. So the only way that a fish will discover the water is if it goes outside of its environment, the pond, the lake, the river, or ocean that it's immersed in, right? And so for me in my daily work, oftentimes I get caught up, whether it's in referrals or putting out fires or dealing with teacher complaints or parent complaints or whatever it is, let me go back to the El Paso Child Guidance Center. When I was functioning as the executive director, all of the things that I was doing to try to raise money and try to survive, oftentimes I didn't realize that I was in the work, right? And so I want to keep coming back to this tonight, that fish discover water last. So what we have to do, no matter where we sit in our organization or what we're doing in our organization, we have to take some time to take a step back and really look at the big picture. Okay, so tonight I want to look at four things, or my presentation will be broken down into 4 different sections. All right, section number 1 is we're going to break down the numbers. So how do we read a spreadsheet? Section number 2 is going to be breaking down the business. How do we bring order to our organization? Section number 3 is going to be breaking down the barriers. So how do we intervene the impediments? All right. And then section number 4, the money part, is breaking the bank. How do we put the profit back in the nonprofit? Okay. So let's first look at a spreadsheet. And let me tell you this. So I went to Texas A&M as an undergrad, and I started out as an accounting major. And I quickly said, yeah, this is super intimidating and not for me. So when I became the executive director of an organization and I saw this, a spreadsheet, I was like, good Lord, what am I going to do with this? And so I'm a former math teacher and I understand numbers and I think I'm pretty good with stewardship. But there's something about spreadsheets that kind of give me the willies. Okay, so I want to take you through this and kind of break down for you some aspects of a spreadsheet. But one of the first things that I did when I became the executive director of the El Paso Child Guidance Center, because I did that before Earning by Learning, was I was working with a gentleman by the name of Keith Jones. And Keith Jones is currently a CEO of a multi-million-dollar real estate company in Ohio, but we served together in ministry. So one of the very first things that I did was I took it to him and I said, Keith, Pastor Keith, break this down for me. Help me understand. And so that's one of the main things that we can do when we're working in any function, especially in nonprofits, is the smartest one in the room is the room. So we want to lean on people who have expertise and people who know what they're doing. And so Keith broke down for me what was in our spreadsheets, where the money was and how I could attack it. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more. But here are some aspects of a spreadsheet. First of all, there's the cash and equivalents, or cash and cash equivalents. So all that's saying is this is how much money we have in the bank, right? This is how much money we have. This is it. All right, let's go down to the next arrow, and that's grants receivable. So again, oftentimes when we have nonprofits, we write grants. Sometimes we get a promise or promissory note from a grantor, but we don't have the money yet. But that still shows up on our financial sheets. So in this case, there's $56,000 that is out there that's been promised to us by organizations, but we haven't received it yet. Okay. Now we're going to jump down to our liabilities. So now we have accounts payable. So in my organization, that might have been different bills that we had. We had said we would pay for, when we had fundraisers, we would pay deposits to hotels. We would pay for, to rent space, to have different events. And so that's money that we owe, that we're really borrowing, but we haven't paid yet. Okay. And then this is a big one for a lot of nonprofits. This can put us under is our mortgage, or in my case, with both Earning by Learning and the El Paso Child Guidance Center, we rented. And that was a huge cost to function and to operate. So in this case, on this sample, it's almost $150,000, right? So when we look at all of that, we have our total assets at $1.6 million. Let me change my view so I can see. Okay, there we go. Total assets at $1.6 million. Our total liabilities at around $186,000. And we have total assets. So we have our total assets minus our total liabilities, which gives us 1.4 million, a little bit more than $1.4 million. So this is a pretty strong financial statement based on the experiences that I had in organizations that really fought. And I think most nonprofits fight to stay alive, they fight for survival. But one of the things in the book that I'll keep referencing tonight is there's a story of a gentleman who had a good quarter or a good year of success in his organization, but he was upset. And when the consultants came in to talk to him, they said, well, why are you upset? You had a really good year. And he said, I'm upset because I don't understand how I got there. And it's hard to manage something that I don't understand. So because we had success this year, I can't replicate it if I don't understand what's going on, right? And so it starts with understanding the numbers, what comes where, how I get to where I'm at, and then to move forward. All right. So like I said, I got feedback previously about facilitating a conversation with the participants in these workshops instead of me talking so much. So I want to take a pause now that we're done with section 1. What are some of your wonderings, wishes, or ahas regarding nonprofit financial statements? And I'll give you some process time to see if you have anything you want to share out.
Feel free to unmic or put it in the chat.
I guess I would have to say, just putting it all together, try to find examples like you just put out there, and that kind of helps a little bit. I like to see examples, and that kind of would help me out.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. Willie, were you about to push your button or no?
Well, let me turn my TV down. What I was gonna say is that my major was in accounting, and I don't like doing spreadsheets either. So I did hire an accounting service to put all my numbers together, and it makes it much easier. We meet monthly, and we go over them, and so now I'm understanding it a little bit better.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So I will go on to the next slide. So I'm going to revisit this. So section 2 is breaking down your business. So again, a fish discovers water last, Ethiopian proverb. So in breaking down our business, so in a root cause analysis, or anytime we're trying to function and figure out how to be successful in business, we want to ask the right questions. So one of the questions we want to ask is, how do we add value to people? Because when we understand how we add value to people, then we can figure out what people are going to be willing to pay for. And then we can build our business and so forth. Then also, how do I add and subtract to the spreadsheet? So Willie said something interesting. She said that she brought in, I don't remember if you said bookkeeper or someone to look at the spreadsheets. And you made me feel really good, Willie, because if you studied accounting and you don't like spreadsheets, then I feel better about myself because I changed my major and I said, boop, I'm out of here, right? And so when Pastor Keith looked at the spreadsheet, he was like, oh, here's your money right here. It's these accounts receivable. At the El Paso Child Guidance Center, our issue was the Affordable Care Act had rolled out, and the reimbursement rates for mental health had greatly diminished. And so we billed people, and we had Medicare and Medicaid, so people paid for their services, or the Medicare and Medicaid were supposed to pay for the services, but there was a lot of time between when we saw the patients or the clients and we were able to receive that money from the government. So we had to figure out, what can we do to collect the money that's owed to us? So what we ended up doing, Willie and Mike and Peoples, was I ended up hiring, and it took a little bit of time to go through some different processes, and we almost had to close our doors, but I hired some experts who knew what they were doing on how to collect that money from those different insurances, or a large part for us was Medicare and Medicaid, right? So we looked at the spreadsheet, we figured out where the opportunities were, and then we jumped in there and was able to mine it out. I hope that makes sense, right? So, and at the same time, looking at the value, so how we're providing those services, providing a clean facility, providing that good customer service, but ultimately breaking down our business and, hey, this is where we get our money, all right? Then we're asking that question, what does success look like? So we're saying, hey, these are our targets. This is what we need to accomplish. What does it take to get there? Again, what are our targets? What does it take to get there? Looking at who we serve, what they need, what they're willing to pay for. One of the opportunities that I came across was, I'm an Army brat. So I grew up at Fort Bliss, and my father served 28 years in the military. There was a wounded warrior grant, and one of the things that we did was EMDR treatment in the mental health space that we were in. And I learned that a lot of our clients had PTSD. And I said, you know who else has PTSD? Soldiers. And you know who else is in, at the time, El Paso, Texas, and Fort Bliss? Soldiers. So I ended up writing this grant, one of the larger grants that we had ever received at the El Paso Child Guidance Center, and we were able to serve our men and women who served in the military, because we were already equipped with the skills to meet the need for individuals who had PTSD, right? So the Wounded Warrior Project, so that question right there says, what are they willing to pay for? The Wounded Warrior Project was willing to give us money because we were established and had effectively, we had processes in place and treatment plans in place to treat those that had PTSD. So it was a great thing that we were able to serve a lot of families with that grant, right? And then why do they want what they want? So figuring out what our clients need, and then gathering intel and feedback. One of the things that we absolutely 100% want to do is gather feedback from the people that we serve. And that will give us more opportunities to meet more needs, to add more value, then to collect more income so that our nonprofit can thrive. Okay? So as far as my story, I told you about finding experts who knew how to drill down and collect the money, and then also finding other opportunities, like in my case, that Wounded Warrior grant, and moving forward. Okay? So with that being said, what are some wonderings, wishes, ahas regarding understanding the nonprofit or the business? Nope.
You know, I'm going to say when I was looking at those questions, most of those questions have always been in my head. You know, just about all of them, really.
Yes, sir.
And I was sitting there thinking, why spreadsheets have to be so difficult?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I did okay, but it's been a ride. I tell you that.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'm trying to look for folks like you were saying, because I tell you, spreadsheets are something else.
They are. They are. So Mike, one of the things that I realized in my stress of trying to manage that and make sure that the organization continues on is I was so focused on the process that sometimes I put processes over people. And one of the things that I've realized is the most valuable asset that we have as leaders is human capital, right? And so this presentation tonight is about looking beyond the financial, right? Looking beyond the spreadsheet. And so at the El Paso Child Guidance Center, I engaged our staff. I realized that these therapists were doing amazing work. And so I loved on them. I got their feedback. They started helping me with, we had a golf tournament, the Champion for Children, I believe is what I call it, the Champions for Children golf tournament. One of the phenomenal ideas that they had, because I leaned into the human capital, they said, hey, Michael, what if at every hole of the golf tournament, we put statistics about child sexual abuse which was our main focus, or the different things that the El Paso Child Guidance Center had been able to accomplish. So it became an educational piece, which became a PR piece, which enabled us to get the word out about the phenomenal work that our organization was doing, which then allowed us to raise more money to be more profitable, or not profitable per se, but to bring in more money so we can have an even healthier organization. And that's what I'm talking about with those internal customers. But thank you for sharing that, Mike. We'll go on to section 3, breaking down our barriers. We want to identify the things that keep us from reaching the successes that we want. And so again, I say, fish discover water last. All right, fish discover water last. We have to take a step back, see what we're working with, so we can swim to where we want to go. All right, so in breaking down barriers, let's make sure we're asking the right questions. So number 1, what keeps us from focusing on the right work? What keeps us from focusing on the right work? As an associate academic principal, it's a nonprofit. I'm in education, right? We're certainly not there because we make the big bucks. One of the things that I learned is I send out a staff newsletter, and I said, you know what? This is taking a lot of time. So I asked my administrative assistant. I said, hey, Angie, You think you can do this newsletter? Every week I have everyone's birthday, the birthdays for the week, all the sporting events. And so that little thing, one, empowered my secretary to do some work that she could do. And then two, it really lightened my load, right? So one of the things we want to realize or recognize quickly as leaders is how can we empower folks? And so I have a example for you, a tangible example for you. I went out to the garage and I got some bricks. Look at that. See, and I'm at the house. I started to go get a plate, but I didn't want my wife to whoop my tail. So I got a Monopoly game. So hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. But as leaders, part of our function, part of our function is to distribute the weight, right, to our organization so that we can have a healthy organization. Because if one person carries too much weight, they're going to burn out. And I know tonight's not about burnout, but in order to have a healthy organization, by definition, it's going to keep going, right? And so when we distribute the weight appropriately and lighten our team's load, then together we're building something that's sustainable, right? And not only is it sustainable, but in our organization, if it's a nonprofit, it's there to meet a need. And I don't know about you, but if you're serving in a nonprofit, it's because you want to make a difference, right? It's because there's something there that, by definition, I'm not in this for the money. There was a time years ago, I was between jobs and I was at a job fair and the lady asked me, she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't want to make shower curtains, I want to make a difference. And I ended up serving with a program called Rising Stars, which was cool. It's like $10 an hour, but just working with kids in the summer, giving them something to do and trying to give them a positive image of a man of color that cared about them, that, it was basically to me like youth ministry, So that's why we want to do what we do, right? And that's certainly the definition of, I would say, the majority of nonprofits. So what are the rules in place that hinder us? Ask the question, who told you that? I do that a lot at work. Who told you that? Like, why can't we distribute this? Why can't we change this? Like, where's the rule that says that we can't do that? And so this is a quote from a guy that I care for. Tradition eliminates innovation. Lack of innovation will lead to termination, right? So we don't have to do something a certain way because it's always been done that way. It's like, let's ask the question, why are we doing it that way? Let's change it up. Everybody remember when, funny enough, on Saturday night, I had a show. I had a comedy show, and somebody said, Michael, how much are the DVDs that you're selling? I said, I'm giving those away because nobody has DVDs anymore. And there were some older folks in the audience that actually, watch this right here. I'm in the office, so I actually have them. So the DVDs, right? It's like, how much are these? It's like they're free $99. Because people don't buy DVDs anymore. So when I was growing up, I remember going to Blockbuster Video. Anybody remember that? It was like 99 cents or something Wednesdays, and you get 3 DVDs for like $2.99. But Blockbuster refused to adapt. And what happened to Blockbuster? They went out of business, right? Because Redbox came along, and then streaming came along, and so we have to adapt or we will die. Right? One of the great stories that I've heard of is in the pizza industry, there was a certain type of pizza that wasn't doing well with the sales. And so somebody said, you know what we should do? We should take the pizza crust that a lot of people don't like and let's stick some cheese in there. And that became a selling point for the pizza, and their sales went up because they thought outside of the box, right? You guys, I don't know if you're locked in, if you want to type in the chat, when we talk about French fries, think about what is the best type of French fry. I'll give you a second to type in what is the best, who has the best French fries? Let me see what y'all say. Miss Arnita, I'm gonna see if I can see the chat. See if anything interesting pops up.
Come on, y'all. I put one in there.
McDonald's, Chick-fil-A.
Here we go. Oh, Chick-fil-A.
McDonald's, my own. I see you, Mike.
But that's not a French fry though.
All right.
They good.
So check this out. So forever, I grew up, with the Happy Meals and all of that. It was always McDonald's, right? And Raising Cane. Okay. So forever, I was like, and a lot of people would agree, it's all about McDonald's. It's all about McDonald's. And then I remember when Chick-fil-A came out, and ironically enough, my high school sweetheart, I don't know if my wife can hear me doing this presentation, but my high school sweetheart said, hey, there's these waffle fries at Chick-fil-A. I was like, that is the Whataburger. Okay, Willie. I was like, waffle fries? That sounds terrible. Who came up with this foolishness, right? And then the waffle fries were great. And then fast forward, so my favorite type of fries, so I do a lot of intermittent fasting. That really works for me. And I've lost 40 pounds over time. And so now I have a lifestyle of intermittent fasting. That really works for me. And I talked to my wife, she's a medical doctor, family medicine. And so she's like, yeah, that works. For people who can do it, you can do it. So on this past Friday, I said, you know what? I've been feeling a little bloated. I'm not gonna eat until tomorrow. And I had the show Saturday, and so I was gonna be in front of the camera, so I was trying to not have the puffy cheeks. And so I got home, and my wife and my daughter had made turkey burgers and sweet potato fries. And I said, I guess I'm not gonna fast for 24 hours. I guess I'm gonna eat because I love sweet potato fries. Which makes me ask the question, who said they're French fries? Like, who says? You know what I'm saying? So question things, adapt or die, and we can always find opportunities. Does that make sense? Those are good. Thank you very much, Victoria. All right. I'm gonna eliminate the chat so I can see my screen. All right, so any ahas, wonderings, wishes regarding removing barriers before we jump into section 4?
Excuse me for being the talkative one.
Oh, I appreciate it, Mike.
When you were talking about lighting the load of the team members,
Sir.
I think it's more of me that needs to unload some of the work and pass it out. Because as leaders, sometimes we feel like we got to have our hand in everything, and especially when you don't. When I first started out in Steel, because we were an all volunteer deal, you carry a lot of it. So I think what I need to do as a leader, unload some of my work a little bit. And like you said, using human capital.
100%. I appreciate that, Mike. So I'm going to be doing a customer service presentation for my wife's job pretty soon. And part of what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use these bricks as an analogy. Because we understand in business, we get paid based on our ability to be a solution, right? And so our whole goal, no matter where we are, is to lighten the load for the people above us. So they have a lot on their plate, so we want to take that stuff off their plate, right? And so, but like you said, Mike, if I'm the leader, then I have an obligation and a responsibility to take the bricks off of my plate and distribute them to my team so that our organization can function. Because unfortunately, we don't always hire people or work with people who are quick to grab the bricks off of our plate, right? Oftentimes, we were having this conversation at work this week. Sometimes people function in self-preservation for a myriad of reasons. So as leaders, sometimes we have to take the initiative, like you said, Mike, to say, you know what? I've got too much here. I'm going to distribute it to the team and make sure that this thing keeps rolling. Okay, so good stuff. Thank you, Mike. All right, so in the next 5 minutes, we'll wrap up with section 4, breaking the bank. So again, a fish discovers water last. So we got to take a step back, look at what we're doing, and get clarity. So speaking of clarity, a wise man once said, clarity creates competence. Competence creates compensation. Simplify, 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 right? It is better to do one thing extremely well than to do 5 things mediocre, okay? So we want to drill down, figure out what's important, and hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. Do it well, do it well, do it well. That's the secret sauce, which a lot of us in this day and age, even especially with all the distractions, we could get lost and not focus on what's important, okay? So ask the right questions. And this is one of the big takeaways from the book that I've been sharing with you. Lead measures and lag measures. So in the book, they talk about it's similar to if we wanted to lose weight. If we wanted to lose weight, what most of us do is we just get on the scale every day. We just get on the scale. How am I doing? How am I doing? So that's a lag measure. But if we look at the lead measure and figure out what can I do to impact the thing that I want, what I could do is I can measure how much I'm intaking. I can measure how much I'm exercising. I can measure how much water I'm drinking, right? Those are lead measures. And if I do what I need to do with the lead measures, then I get my lag measure to figure out where I'm at. And another big concept from the book is the scoreboard. If we were playing a game at the gym, if we were playing a basketball game and we were just, playing around, maybe nobody's paying attention. But what happens the moment we put up a scoreboard? Now it's like, hello, now I'm paying attention, right? So in my organization right now, what we're working on is having a scoreboard. We're going to have lead measures to figure out what can we do, in my case today, for kids. What can we do as educators in the classroom for kids that we controlling adult behaviors that will then impact the lag measure. What's going to happen to our, in our case, clients or constituents or students, right? So how can you do that in your organization and keep a scoreboard weekly? I'm going to do the same thing with my wife's organization when I do the training for them. It's like measuring the phone calls, measuring what we're doing for those patients, measuring the stuff that we're inputting. We're going to keep that scoreboard and look at it weekly. And they're going to do it. And so we want to make sure that we're winning the game. Remember your why, and I'll wrap up with this story. So at the El Paso Child Guidance Center, I come in, the Affordable Care Act rolls out, and it's a pretty dark time, and we're looking at possibly shutting our doors. And so for me, I'm married to, at the time, a medical doctor. She still is, but it's a different financial situation now because she's now she has her own business and her own set of struggles. So we don't make as much financially today. Hopefully, God willing, we're gonna do better. But then she was working for an organization, and she was the breadwinner. So for me as the executive director, I didn't have as much financial pressure. But I'm working with single mothers, and so that's the folks that I'm working with. Not only that, we're working with hundreds and thousands of kids and families who have suffered extreme trauma. And so I'm faced with, we might have to close our doors because of a number of factors. We lost some grants, the Affordable Care Act rolls out, the reimbursement rates drop, and I'm trying to figure it all out. And I'm this fish, not realizing that I'm in the water, right? And so I have to scale back, figure out what's important, and drill on that, right? And what ended up happening with some of the stuff that I shared with you tonight, that following, and so I held back my salary several times, didn't get paid, and it was I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. It was one of the most stressful times of my life. Fast forward to Christmas, I was able to give bonuses to our staff for a Christmas party because they did so much. Well, actually, it was Thanksgiving, but they wanted to do because they deal in such heavy trauma. They wanted to go play games. So we went to Peter Piper Pizza. We played games as a staff. It was amazing. We had sparkling apple cider, no, don't do alcohol. And with wine, I had plastic wine cups, and we celebrated. And it was just a little $25 scratch pad from Wells Fargo, ironically enough. So I gave everybody a $25 scratch pad, and it was amazing because the year before, I was scared that we were gonna have to close our doors. And so, but that's what happens when you drill down. And there were some other factors, faith and prayer and some other stuff, and relationship building. But you can win when you remember that the fish is the last one to see the water. Okay. So, any ahas, wonderings, wishes as regarding breaking the bank and being profitable? Well, it looks like we are up against about 40 minutes or so. So I want to share with you the book that I've been referencing. I thought was absolutely life-changing this summer. It's the four disciplines of execution. And so it really talks about WIG's wildly important goals, helps us to identify as a team, hey, if we do this and we do it consistently and we keep a scoreboard, it will impact that, right? If we take our lead measures and have the team come up with it to figure out what's important, then we can have those lag measures to get the outcomes that we want. And again, if we're in a nonprofit, we're fighting the good fight. Like, I'm fighting for students every day. I'm fighting for families every day. Whatever that nonprofit is, Earning by Learning, I'm trying to break generational curses. I want to destroy the pipeline to prison. So what I'm doing is important and it matters. So we're building something. Let's build it. Build it. All right. So go be great. There's my information. I'm just dusting off the brick. It's a little raunchy, as my mom would say. It's a little raunchy. So, thoughts, comments, quibbles, questions?
Well, I like to say thank you, Michael. It really, to me, made me think more about the internal workings, I guess, of the organization instead of just looking at a paper and the spreadsheet and trying to make those numbers add up or be more than what they are. If we just stop and, like you said, get out of the water and look at and ask the various questions throughout our entire organization, we can find the financial stability that we are looking for, that we possibly need to, and use those as tools instead of a spreadsheet or a program or an AI or whatever. Those kind of things are out there, but basically we have the tools we need. We have them right in front of our faces if we just drill down. So that's kind of my takeaway from your presentation. And I have put I see people see it, the feedback link in the chat. Please go ahead and give us your input on the survey. And in the chat, I see we have thank you. It was a great presentation. Thank you, Victoria, for saying that, and Willie. We appreciate that. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add, contribute?
You know I
Yes, Mike, thank you.
Yes. I was going to say, when he got to that part about the quote about simplify, simplify, make things simple. And I think about, I have a sibling that works for a certain airline, and he's been working there for many years. And this airline, you might know it, based here in Texas, they simplify everything. They use the same planes, okay? They always got their fuel contracts many years in advance. And that's how they became so profitable. At least they were back then. Okay? And so I was thinking, and I remember that in some ways I've kind of put that into our organization to try to just simplify things. You know, they say keep it simple, silly, kids. And that works. That works. So if we all learn to do that, I believe that the profitability will come to help us, keep our nonprofit doors open, because there have been a couple times, I was getting kind of closer. I tell you, the pandemic, that was rough. So we try to keep it simple, and we're still keeping our doors open. Thank you on that.
Keep fighting a good fight, Mike.
All right, if there's not anything else, we have Michael's contact information here on the screen. Take a shot of that. And if we don't have anything else, I will be more than happy to give you back your evenings. We got some more comments. Just thank you for this session. Yes, Deborah, thank you so much. All right, with that being said, continue to fill out the survey, and we will meet you back here tomorrow evening.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
All right, see you later.
Record.